It's time for another Festival Edition video for our Festival Edition playlist, and obviously the next, set of holidays that we have coming up is, we could say, Christmas and Hanukkah. They're going to overlap this year. It's going to fall at the end of Advent. We have talked about both before on this playlist in the past. I can't remember if both of them were last year, but I did an Advent video at least a couple years ago. And then I remember last year sharing my son's presentation on Hanukkah and talking about what that is, and had a really good time doing that. This year, I don't know what was driving this year's reflection. I just wanted to kind of share personal, high-level thoughts about the Christmas season, the Hanukkah season, just what this holiday season does at this time of year in the middle of the winter, and that's part of what we've talked about before. So it could kind of just be a brain dump video today. It could be kind of a mess, but one of the things I was thinking about when I was taking notes about this conversation was, when I think about Christmas and Hanukkah, there is almost like an umbrella theme that shows up in both places. Like, on one hand, you think they're wildly different stories. You got the Christian story, birth of Jesus. You've got the Hanukkah story, Maccabean revolt. Like, they're two wildly different things, and yet they always end up in a very similar place on the calendar. I think the human experience is wrestling with similar things at that time of year, and there are some similar themes that show up. Part of it is just the message of hope. For Hanukkah, you have this 8-night celebration where you're constantly thinking about, obviously, the miracle of the story of Hanukkah, but part of what they're doing, they give gifts every night, and they're trying to remind ourselves that even when things seem hopeless, the chance for God's rescue and redemption is always there. And for the Hanukkah perspective, Hanukkah is essentially inviting us to look really intently, look very seriously, look and look again. Like, the miracle is actually there. The question is whether or not you can see it, whether or not you notice it. And so a very large part of what Hanukkah is trying to remind us of and invite us to do is to go look, to go find the hope. Like, the hope is there, but it's not going to be cheap hope, which is what's so, for me, compelling about this time of year in a consumeristic holiday season in our culture, where it's like all the flashing lights and the music and the presents and all the things that you buy, and it's just consume. It's offering us this very cheap, very shallow hope. And the Hanukkah message invites us to look and look deeper. Do you realize that the bush isn't burning? To basically go back to my son's presentation and Foreman's teaching on Hanukkah. That would be one thing. But that same theme shows up in Christmas. Because the Christmas story is about this Christ child being born in a world that's crying out for hope. It's crying out for deliverance. A world that's under the boot of imperial and oppression and injustice. And even when the Christ child shows up, even when the babe is born and put in a manger, the circumstances don't necessarily change. It's not like everybody woke up the next morning and the world was different, or their circumstances, they experienced radical deliverance. You see, the Christmas story is also about finding hope. Finding hope in places where you least expect it. And so one thing that I would say, one of my brain dump ideas, is that whether we're thinking about Hanukkah or whether we're thinking about Advent and Christmas, if you're in a place this year, and a lot of us are, like, a lot of us find ourselves, Christmas is not necessarily a time of like unbelievable joy. Maybe we've lost family members, and Christmas is this reminder of the empty chair that sits at the table. For some of us, like, Christmas is this time where it's the shortest, like the least amount of daylight. It's the shortest day on the calendar year. I think the first day of Hanukkah is the shortest day of the year this year. And I might be wrong about that, but you get my thought. Like, it's this time where our physiological responses, our psychological realities can be more bent towards depression and despair and hopelessness at this time of year more than any time of year. So a lot of us find ourselves in a space where what we see immediately in our circumstances is not joy and hope and love and peace and these themes of Advent. Advent or Hanukkah is inviting us to, like, push in and find those things because they're there. Like, the Advent season and the Hanukkah season insists that hope is there, that the miracle is there, but you will have to find it. And so are we willing to find it this year? And I know that for some of us, we feel like, no, I'm out of energy. I don't have any of the resources necessary to go find hope. But I think somewhere in the Advent story, somewhere in the Hanukkah celebration, you might be given just enough this season, this year. I don't know if you guys can hear that. My hot tub just clicked on to do a cycle. Great timing there. The other thought that I have, that first reflection is more about if I'm experiencing a world. Now, let's say that's not where I'm at. Let's say that for some of us, Christmas is like an unbelievably encouraging time. It is a time full of joy. It's like one of our favorite times of the year. We don't struggle with those things. Like, for whatever reason, Christmas also serves as an amazing reminder for us to be that hope, for us to be that miracle for somebody else. One of the things that my parents, I think I've talked about this before, but one of the things that my parents did years ago is they started giving money out to all the children and say, go do something, go bless somebody this Christmas season. And when we get together at Christmas, we'll tell the stories of what we did to do something special for somebody else. Like, my second reflection would be, if you have anything to give, and I'm not necessarily talking material, although that would be very relevant, but if you have any emotional space, if you have any relational space, if you have any material space to give, go be somebody's Hanukkah miracle this year. And don't doubt the power of a small act of kindness and what it can do, how it can be a critical moment in somebody's larger story of despair. It can be the thing that cracks a window, that opens a door, that turns a corner, that lights a candle for somebody. Go light somebody's candle. Go be somebody's Hanukkah miracle. Go embody the message of the incarnated Christ child for somebody that needs hope and joy and peace and love and the Christ. Like, go do that. My third reflection is probably, unrelated to anything else. But Advent for me becomes a season, Hanukkah too, like this whole season becomes a season where, for whatever reason, I like to sink into my emotions, my feelings. I'm not a feeler by default. I have a very emotional side to me. It's not like that. It's not that I'm a cold thinker, detached thinker, but my go-to posture in life is a thinker. I'm a learner. I'm a teacher. I'm a thinker. I don't typically lean on my feeler. I see my feeler as dangerous. It shouldn't be that way, but I see it that way. That's my personality style. So this season becomes a season where I lean into that space. Like, I let myself feel things. And it's great because it's a very romantic season. I don't mean romantic in the Valentine's Day sense. I just mean the emotion, the poetry. It's a season that's electric with nostalgia. the sights, the songs, the tastes. And I just let the season do its work. Like, there's a lot of times of the year where I kind of try to keep those things in check. I'm not even sure if that's the right thing to do. That's just my natural. But at Christmas, Hanukkah, these are times where I let myself fall into, I will find myself, especially as I get older. I remember a couple years ago telling my therapist, and recently telling my spiritual director, like, I just cry at everything these days. I'm a crier. Like, I'll hear a song, I'll be on a plane ride home and I'll be watching a movie, or I'll just be thinking about my family, and I am just like, man, I am instant waterworks. And I don't know if that's just part of getting older. I don't know if getting older lowers our, maybe we're just more ready to lean into that. I don't know, but Christmas is one of those seasons, man. I'll listen to the song and I'll just have a good cry. I'll think about, I'll feel the feels, you know what I mean? And so I don't know if that, maybe, here's why I say that. There's not necessarily an application to pursue with that. But sometimes when people say something that's true for them and they put words to something that I experience, it takes something that's kind of sitting right here and I haven't really, and when somebody puts words to it, I go, oh yeah, and I kind of pull that out and I go, oh, it's a thing. Like, that's actually, yeah. And then it names it. It lets me all of a sudden see it for what it is. So that's why I bring that up. Maybe you're like me. Maybe the Christmas season, the Advent season, the Hanukkah season, maybe it's a time where you too, for whatever reason, a little bit more weepy, a little bit more apt to be driven by emotion. And for me, I let it be that for this season. Good things happen there. So that's why I share that. And along those lines, that led me to think of two other things, two resources that are just some of my favorites. I mean, this list could be super long. I could do a whole video about this, and maybe next year I will. I don't know. But two resources that just rose to the top for me this year. And it's kind of late. Like, I should have shared this probably a month ago so that you could have joined me throughout the whole Advent season enjoying these things. So I know I'm late to the ball game, but for next year, how about that? There are two things that I just love. One of them is the Behold the Lamb of God album by Andrew Peterson. Is one of my absolute favorite Christmas music albums ever. I love it. And I know that everybody's taste in music are different. I get that. But man, if you're looking for you want a new album to buy this Christmas season. I used to be somebody who every season I'd try to find a new Christmas holiday album that I could buy. And that's I go back to that well every year. And there are so many of those songs. Gather round ye children, come is his opening song. And then he does a reprise at the end of the album. And oh gosh, it's just so good. The whole album is just excellent. When it comes to Hanukkah songs, my favorite Jewish rapper, Marty, reggae rap. He has a song. It's been out for a long, long time. Miracle. He has another song he released a few years ago, Happy Hanukkah. Love those songs. The Maccabeats, which is funny, but they have some holiday music that I really enjoy. When it comes to music, those are some of my holiday favorites. I look forward every year, and I'm a stickler. I'm a stickler for, you don't get to listen to Christmas music until the day after Thanksgiving. Soon as the day after Thanksgiving hits, it's only Christmas music until January 1st. Like, that's it. Those are the rules. I don't make the rules, but those are the rules, okay? None of this listening to Christmas music in early November. No Christmas music in October. No, don't give me that. So, but I wait for December every year. First day after November, I can't wait to fire up my Andrew Peterson listen to that music. The other resource that I would recommend is a new book by, and we just released a podcast episode recently about this resource on the Bema podcast. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. I'll put a link to a few of these things in the show notes, in the description of this video. I'll put a couple links in there so you can find some of this stuff. But A.J. Sherrill just had a book come out this year, and it's a resource for Christmas. It's a resource for Advent, and it's titled Rediscovering Christmas. And if you're looking for a new resource, it's got, 8, 10, 12 chapters where he takes a different character in the Advent story and basically lets it guide him on a reflection of something we can reflect on, and a way to kind of like lead us through the Advent Christmas narrative. So anyway, those are some thoughts, and those are some resources that you might be able to enjoy this Christmas. So those are just some, probably, like I said, probably a mess of a brain dump, but maybe there's a little nugget or two in there that you'll find helpful for this Christmas or Hanukkah season. Go find the hope. If you look hard enough, the miracle is there. Talk to you soon.